welcome. Are you all expecting anyone else to join us here today on the applicant owner side? Okay. I see that we also have Wes Menzel from the zoning department. Hi, Wes.
Good morning.
All right. So I need to read through our hearing script. This will basically just cover the procedure for the hearing, and then we can go ahead and get started. So this is the, excuse me, the June 14th, 2023 session of the zoning hearing examiner docket. My name is David Sturkey. I'm the zoning hearing examiner for the city of Cincinnati. I'll be presiding over the hearing. The case before us today is case number ZH20230059. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and the opposing parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow rules found in the zoning code and supplemental rules of the zoning hearing examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any opposing party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. If there were anyone here from the public, they would have an opportunity to speak after the applicant had presented its case. I'll give the zoning plans examiner, Wes Menzel, an opportunity to provide any testimony in addition to his staff report. In the event that any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to this application, the applicant will have an opportunity to rebut that testimony and or argument offered in opposition. Give me 1 second. I'm going to get one more person trying to join us here.
Yes, this is Teresa.
Hi, Teresa.
Hi.
Hi, my name is David Sturkey. I'm the zoning hearing examiner for the city of Cincinnati. We are just about to start the hearing. I'm going through the procedure right now. If you could give me your full name.
Teresa Jones.
Okay. And
I couldn't get on through the computer, so I used the phone.
Okay. Ms. Jones, I did receive a letter from you late yesterday. Is that something you wanted to be included as a part of the record?
Part of the record, but, you know, I expressed some things that I just thought should be confidential to the city. If they have to be, you know, put on.
So let me put it this way, Ms. Jones. Yes. First off, you're in a conference call. So with us right now is Wes Menzel from the city zoning department, myself, David Sturkey, the zoning hearing examiner, and then Paul and Favia Leary, the owners of the subject property. They're all here. We can all hear you. Of course, we can see you on the phone. And so let me also say that if you would like, essentially, you've shared this document with me. When you share it with the city, I believe that it becomes a public record. I don't think that I have the option to really not share that letter.
That's fine.
Okay.
It's fine. Okay. You can share it.
Okay. All right. So Ms. Jones, I'm just in the middle of sort of going over what the procedure for the hearing is. I'm going to allow the applicants and their attorney to tell me about the project, why they think I should grant the relief that they're requesting. And essentially what they're requesting today is a variance to allow an accessory structure of the garage that is 400 square feet larger than what is allowed in this particular zoning district. So I'll give them an opportunity to tell me why I should grant that relief and tell me more about the project. I will then give you an opportunity to provide any testimony that you would like. In the event that you do want to provide any testimony, the Leary's attorney, Ms. Gugino, will have an opportunity to ask you some questions after your testimony. We'll then hear from the zoning plans examiner, Wes Menzel, from the zoning department. In the event that any party does testify in opposition to this application, we'll then give the applicants and the owner an opportunity to respond to any of that testimony that was offered in opposition and then to make any closing statements. After all of the presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or to make any comments. I may also refuse to consider hearsay testimony, which is generally evidence you want to introduce that consists of statements made by someone who is not present at this hearing. Okay. In the event of any technical difficulties with our Zoom technology, I may, if I can't troubleshoot those on the fly, I may continue or postpone the hearing, subject to my discretion. And I believe that is it. So the last thing I need to do is just swear in all of our witnesses. So if anyone here intends on providing testimony, making any comments, asking any questions, doing anything other than just strictly observing here today, they need to be sworn in. So if that is you and you are not an attorney, I need you to answer out loud. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
I do.
I do.
Okay, great. All right. Any questions before we get started from any of the parties here today?
No.
No.
Okay. All right. Let's go ahead. Ms. Gugina, are you ready to take the lead here and start us off?
Yes.
Okay, floor is yours. And Ms. Gugina, just so you know, I'm pretty liberal about how you want to orient your presentation. If you want to ask them questions directly, you can do that. If you want to just give them the floor to testify, that's fine too.
Okay.
It's really completely up to you, however you think is the best way to communicate this project to me.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So Julie Gugino, on behalf of the applicants, back in April, we submitted an application with a request for a variance for an accessory building that has been constructed on the property at 2673 Montana Avenue, Cincinnati, Ohio. So under the current zoning code, that accessory building, it meets all the setback requirements and the dimensional requirements, other than the fact that it exceeds the space that it's permitted to take up by 400 square feet. An accessory building in this zoning district can be 800 square feet. This one is 1,200 square feet. The Learys purchased a vacant lot next to their property in 2019. They purchased it from the city. It had been, it was a pretty blighted at the time. It had been neglected for a long time. And before they even owned it, they started mowing the grass because the grass was reaching, over 6 feet in height. They ultimately purchased that lot, and they own two lots: the lot that their single family home is on and the lot that the accessory building is on. It should be noted, and this was in the staff report as well, and the staff report recommended a granting of the variance. But the two lots, as it sits right now, the one lot has a single family home. The other lot could have a single family home, presumably, which would exceed 1,200 square feet in space. The Learys ended up consolidating the lots. They attempted to sort of take care of, adding a driveway and the accessory building and doing it on their own. And they were communicating with the city, and there was someone at the city that suggested to them that they consolidate the two lots together, and then they could put this accessory building on. So they did that, and they hired American Building Network to build the accessory structure. And apparently American Building Network did not obtain the necessary permits. And so here we find ourselves today with an accessory building that's already been constructed and paid for in the amount of, I think, something like $15,000. And it exceeds by 400 square feet the requirements under the zoning code. Mrs. Leary runs a state-approved preschool and daycare at the property. She was given a $30,000 grant by Cincinnati Preschool Promise to purchase lots of different developmental items for the kids that attend that preschool. And this is a high public policy in the state of Ohio in terms of providing quality preschool for people who have children and need to work. It's subsidized by the state so that single mothers and other individuals that may be in low-income jobs can afford to send their children to preschool while they go to work. So Mrs. Leary runs that daycare at the property, and she's purchased all these different developmental items, and they've had to put them into storage because they built this accessory structure thinking that they'd be able to, put all these items there, and then she could rotate them in and out, in the summer months or the fall months, or depending on, what the kids needed. And as a result, because they then learned that this exceeded the square footage permitted, they then have had to rent 3 storage units that they're paying $800 a month for to keep these things stored. And consequently, they also can't then use these things for the kids that are coming to preschool because they're off in storage somewhere else. They have this concrete parking pad that they intend and have worked with the city to extend to that accessory structure. And then they store some, Mr. Leary sort of restores some in his, his personal car, classic cars, things like that. And he will store in there some of these classic cars as well. And then the driveway will continue back from there. They get some traffic coming in off of Montana Avenue with people dropping off their kids and things like that. And so even extending that driveway back will help with traffic in that regard. They have expressed in their application their willingness to put in landscaping and buffering. They're on a very busy thoroughfare in Montana Avenue. This isn't a single family home neighborhood. They are surrounded by a lot of multifamily apartments. The accessory structure is really in keeping with the surrounding neighborhood, its use really will provide both a public benefit to those who are using Mrs. Leary's daycare, as well as a private benefit to the Learys in being able to store things in there that might otherwise be stored in the yard or on the driveway and cause an eyesore or blight in and of itself. We would ask that you grant the variance. We believe it's in keeping with the code, that owing to the special circumstances of this property, that strict application of the provisions of the code are unreasonable and would result in practical difficulties under 1445-15, and that the variance is necessary for the preservation and enjoyment of a substantial right of the Learys in the use of their property. As part of the application, we submitted a 9-page letter detailing all of the factors that the code is considered for the granting of a variance, as well as various documents that were attached to that application. And we would incorporate those into this hearing and the arguments made in that letter into this hearing. I was going to open up to Ms. Leary just to explain a little bit about her business and the various licensing that she has and the grant that she's received and why this would be beneficial to them.
I'm Fabia Leary. So I am the owner of the Little Daisy House, and all my clients are my neighbors. I just don't even know. I'm with a lot of community partners, Cincinnati Preschool Promise, 4Cs. I care for a lot of underprivileged kids, and I would like to continue to care for them. And me getting the grant and being able to have these different developmental items are very, they're much needed for their care. A lot of them don't have these items at home. This is where they learn it. It's comfortable for them. They can comfortably, play. And, I'm in the process of putting a playground in the backyard. I also just obtained my 4th star for Step Up to Quality. So I'm highly rated. I also just received a grant letter from 4Cs that they will be purchasing another $6,000 worth of learning materials for my daycare children for me furthering my education. I really hope and pray that, you know, this is really approved, because I really need that storage space to be able, like Julie said, to switch out my seasonal items for the children, and also just have a safe play area for them, that we don't have to cross streets or drive down the street or anything like that. And we have a full yard that they can just play in and be kids. And I would love one day for my home to possibly turn into a center where I will need more space and more of this storage facility to be able to be open to me, to be able to store more items in there. And the driveway, like she said before, we are on a busy street. It will help my parents from backing out. They can be able to pull in, they can turn around and come out forward instead of having to backing out into traffic. I've had a couple parents that have gotten into fender benders because of this. So that was the whole point of, another point of us putting in this driveway, to possibly in the future create some type of roundabout for my parents, so where they can pull in one way and just pull out the other. That's it.
Did you have anything you wanted to add?
You touched basically on the stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, just a few questions to help me clarify. So first off, Ms. Gugina, you this is an SF, a single family zoning district, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And I know that there are some multifamily around. I can see that from the map, but are there other accessory structures that are, I mean, really anywhere in the neighborhood that are of this size? I'm not really seeing any.
I don't know that there are. I would call it a transitional neighborhood. It is sitting on a very busy road. It is, you know, surrounded by a lot of multifamilies. Like I said, it is 2 lots that were consolidated together. I mean, presumably they could do a lot split.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be an option to solve this problem. We haven't fully explored that for them from a legal standpoint, but well, I'm kind of scratching my head why they were suggested to have it consolidated in the first place. But notwithstanding that, you have 2 lots. That is, so it's a large lot, and you have a single family home on one, and you have this accessory building.
Right, but even if the lot were split, are you suggesting if the lot were split, or if it never was consolidated, that this structure would be conforming? Because I'm not sure that would be the case.
I haven't done a full legal analysis on that for them, because I was asked to file an application for a variance.
Mm-hmm.
But
gotcha.
It is curious to me. To me, it seems, given the fact that you have 2 lots of them consolidated together, thus in that area, that neighborhood, which I believe is Westwood,
yes,
you essentially have a lot square footage size that is double the size of what a normal lot would be, sitting not back in, say, a neighborhood, but on Montana Avenue, which we all know has become a very busy through street to other neighborhoods.
Sure. Yeah, I certainly appreciate the argument that that this is double the size, and that a single family home could or would potentially be larger than this accessory structure, but it wouldn't allow for that single family home to be situated in the backyard. So I don't believe that this structure would be allowed, regardless of the lot configuration or whether they're combined or not. But I do appreciate that it's larger. Yeah. Let me also ask a little bit more. What about the business? Is it just one business that's operating there, the preschool, or is there an auto related business that's also happening there as well? Mr. Leary, can you speak to that?
Yes, sir. No, so no automotive businesses there. I bought it in my business name. But like I said, me and my son, we kind of restore classic cars ourselves. So it's not a business now, me, my wife's brakes, stuff like that. Like I work on our own cars. So it's like having existing to be able to work indoors in the winter, stuff like that. But mainly for storage for those cars to stay out of the elements.
Gotcha. So you have a collection of cars that you repair and then you retain. You do not sell those cars?
No, sir.
Okay. How many cars do you have?
7, 8 cars.
7, 8 cars. Okay. And those are currently parked in the backyard?
I got maybe 6 in the backyard. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And
And
2 in the garage.
gotcha. And the preschool is an existing business inside the home, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So
So
the daycare and preschool. So Preschool Promise is an organization that I am affiliated with. So it allows me to be able to teach the children, because I do mixed age group. I can teach them preschool work. So it's not, Preschool Promise is their own entity. I'm the little Daisy House. I just have the credentials and a CDA and everything to be able to teach them. So that's why it says, daycare, preschool, but it's not 2 businesses. It's just all under one, daycare.
gotcha. Okay. And how long have you been operating the daycare or the daycare preschool business?
I actually started in 2011. I took a break. So I started back up under this name in 2018.
Okay. Gotcha. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Okay. And what kind of things do you need to store inside this garage?
Daycare furniture. I have like boards, different cabinets, cubbies, bikes, outside furniture. Like that's a lot of things that are in that storage that we're paying for now that I would like to eliminate that bill and bring them to where I can switch them out, because I have to drive all the way to Blue Ash, because that was the closest storage I could find at the time to be able to, dig around and pull items out and put them back in. I have like quad strollers for like when we go to the museum and daycare. The zoo, things like that I don't have space to, because I operate out of my basement. So my entire basement is the daycare. So.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Well, I guess the point I'm getting at is there seems like a lot going on here, even for 2 lots in an SF6. We have at least 6 cars, but on the Google image satellite view, I count 10 cars in the backyard here.
Yeah,
plus all the stuff you're storing from the daycare in the garage. I'm just a little concerned. Where is all this going to go, and how is this garage going to help if you have all of these things? Are these kids playing outside around the cars? How does that work?
No, I currently use the Ryan's Park right now until my park is built in the back. So if you can look in the back off of, I don't know if you can see like the little square pad, that's where everything was being started at. But I stopped the playground because I'm switching over to type A, and there are some different guidelines that I have to follow. So that's why the playground is not finished. So we go to Ryan's Park to play, or they play in the inside.
Gotcha. Okay. So to be clear, the idea is that the cars will be continued to be stored outside, and the daycare preschool equipment will be stored inside the garage.
Yes, but some of the cars will be in the inside, like the historical cars that we don't want to sit and be in weather.
As far as that's in storage right now.
Yeah, they will be in the inside also.
Okay. All right. I think that's all the questions I have right now. I'm going to go ahead and give Ms. Jones an opportunity. Unless, I'm sorry, Ms. Gugina, is there anything else you wanted to add before we went to public comment? You'll have a chance to speak again, obviously. Okay. Yeah, Ms. Jones, is there anything you wanted to add to the conversation here?
Yes, I will. Yes, I do. And I'm just a little confused. It seems like a lot of stuff. It's like all this stuff is, the need for this structure. Why it doesn't make sense to me that stuff is way out in Blue Ash and you got this huge thing that, you know, in the backyard and then with that structure, when you think it would alleviate some of the problem with all the cars, I've lived here for 27 years. Just frankly, when I walk out my back door, I don't want to see, you know, all these. Right now, I'm looking at least about seven cars have this huge structure. It only has one car in it, that one or two, he said. I don't remember, but you know, you got this huge structure and it can't accommodate, from what they're saying right now, it can't accommodate all their things because some of them are in Blue Ash, some of them are for these kids, some of this storage is for the cars, but there's a huge buildup of cars outside. And then there's sometimes cars on the front lot, on their front yard. I don't understand that. It's just like, I don't see this huge structure to me personally, and I commend them because they're very, they're just a good power couple at trying to get things done. But we have to be considered too. The neighbors have to be considered too. And I just personally don't want to look at this huge structure. I don't see, like, from what is being said, how it's helping anything, because it's still stuff that's out in Blue Ash, and then cars are still piled up in the back. And I just don't want to see that. I've been here for 27 years. I enjoy going out in my backyard, and I try to be, you know, neighborly, but it's just something I don't want to see. I just do not want to look at that huge garage in the back, that it doesn't make sense to me that it's there. I don't want to look at all these cars all jumbled up in the back, see them on the front lawn. I take a lot of pride in where I live at. I love Westwood, and I, you know, try to keep things nice and neat and pleasant. And I can understand him having a love for cars. But what I'm looking at right now, I'm looking at in the backyard, I don't see any cars that are antique cars. These cars are like 10 years old, all built up. And why aren't they, you know, in the storage area? If it's so beneficial to have it, it doesn't seem like it's being very helpful. And, you know, the neighbors don't like it. I don't like it. And I just don't see the sense in it. I don't think that we should just have to look at this because of their ambition of wanting to do things. You know, we all have our ambitions and love. You know, you have love for cars, but this is a residential area. I could see the daycare being very beneficial to a lot of people. I understand that, but this is a daycare ran out of the home, and you're telling me you need all this storage area, and all. It's just not adding up to me. I just don't understand it. I really don't.
Okay. Thanks, Ms. Jones.
Yeah.
I appreciate your testimony, your perspective on this. Okay, I'm going to move over to Mr. Menzel from the zoning department. Mr. Menzel, is there anything you'd like to add in addition to your staff report?
Good morning. I did want to confirm and clarify a couple things. So it sounds like there's a type A daycare in the house, which allows up to 12 kids. And I guess my question is about the preschool portion. Is that like a subset of the daycare, or is that a separate thing beyond the 12 kids? I'm a little confused on that. And then the other clarification is that if the lot was split back to another lot, the accessory structure would not be allowed on a standalone lot. It would have to have a principal use of a residential use. So although the massing and size of the structure is equivalent to a single family house or whatever, I understand that argument. But the consolidation was required to allow the accessory structure to be allowed as in the rear yard of the house that's there. I guess I want to clarify that point and ask a question about the preschool. And then I assume, as the applicant mentioned, that the cars would be shifted to the garage to help them be screened from the neighbors. I think that's a beneficial thing, because the garage itself has a lot of doors on it that are big garage doors. Like, it sounds like it's could be used for dual use for the car storage and the daycare item storage. So I think that makes sense. But yeah, if you can clarify the type A and preschool, that'd be helpful to me. But
So so I'm currently still type B. My inspection for type A is actually tomorrow. So the preschool promise is another way for my low income families. They actually provide funding for the children to be able to attend daycare. So I'm just able to teach them preschool work, if that makes sense. So it's not an actual preschool in there on top of the daycare. It's just daycare. It's just, I have certain certificates being able to teach preschool age children.
so the preschool is just like a component of the daycare. And
yes, it's like how they have vouchers and things from downtown. It's just another source to be able to be funded. Yes.
Okay, that makes sense. And then just one other clarification point is that you mentioned daycare center earlier, but a daycare center would not be allowed in the single family zone. You're just limited to the type A.
Yes, yeah, I know that. I was just saying, yeah.
Okay. Thanks, David.
Okay. Yeah. So, Ms. Gugina, did you have any questions that you wanted to ask Ms. Jones?
I think that we would want to respond to some of the things that were said.
Sure.
Sure. Go ahead.
So the lot that the accessory structure sits on that was consolidated with the Leary's parcel, that previously had a single family home on it. And it was, like I said, overgrown for, I don't know how long that went on. Like I said, that, so we're not, the use of this lot before the Learys took over, I would say was not sort of pristine. They were, as I mentioned in my application, they were going on and they were mowing it because the yard was getting to 6 feet high. And I would guess that in and of itself was an eyesore. If you kind of, look at the aerial of the space, in terms of area that their single family home takes up and the area that the accessory building takes up, I would imagine that it's similar to what was previously there in terms of, you had a single family home on each. It's not that the Learys are not permitted to have an accessory building in their backyard, as their neighbor, has indicated she doesn't want to look at it. I mean, they are entitled to one under the code that is 800 square feet to begin with. The contractor, built this 1,200 square foot accessory structure, apparently without obtaining the permit. And so it was built, and then it was learned that it was too big. So it's too big, according to the code, by 400 square feet. So they're permitted to have that back there under the code in the first place. So it's not as if this were denied, that they can't have this building back there at all. They can have it. It just would have to be smaller than it is at the moment, which would be very costly to them. And $15,000 loss plus what they've spent, asking for this variance for what's essentially 400 square feet on an extra lot. I think there's strong arguments that the variance should be granted. And in terms of the statements made that there's these cars and things that I'm not quite sure what the point was in terms of, it doesn't make sense that stuff is being stored in Blue Ash. I mean, they have 3 storage units. They're in Blue Ash. It's simply a fact. They haven't been storing things in this because they learned shortly after it was built that it was not permitted. And so the point of the barn in and of itself is to be able to take some of these cars and get them off the lot and store them orderly and away from sight, and then bring some of those things from the storage unit, put it in there, stop paying the storage unit fees. In addition, the Learys have offered to do some landscaping. If that would be beneficial, that could maybe be done around the accessory building. So I think that they may have a couple things that they want to say as well in response.
Sure.
You did cover like a lot of those, the cars will be moved out of the way and things. And like she said, we weren't able to use it, and we're not able to use it until the driveway is placed in, which we've been granted that permit for the driveway. And when everything's used, then things will be moved out and stored, and and Blue Ash would no longer exist because we will have this space to be able to put those daycare items in those cars in this building. And we are very reasonable people. For years, Miss Teresa has used our driveway to get her riding mower into the backyard because she does not have access to get this big riding mower in and out of her backyard. When trees have fallen, we have went out there, paid people to remove those trees, have not asked Miss Teresa to pay for anything when it comes to that. So we're trying to do, and we have taken every step that the city has told us to take, to the consolidation, to the land survey, to getting permits and doing everything. Now, we do apologize that American Building Company did not go through the right protocols of getting that permit. But when you guys found out, you're the ones that came and told us. We've been trying to contact this company since January, and we have not received a response. So we are using our own money and resources trying to fix this issue so this thing can go away. And we really do need this structure. And like I said before, we apologize, and we have written through the city in Price Hill. It's a pole barn the same size of the one that we have. I'm not sure what their situation was, but it's there, you know what I'm saying? So it's not like they don't exist, and it's on a smaller parcel than what we have. So I just really wish the city would grant us this variance to be able to continue, and we're willing to fix whatever it is that we need to fix to move forward and to be able to get this approved.
I do have something to say. So we purchased the house in 2009 at the age of 21. We had a good relationship with Miss Teresa and her husband. I don't know where it fell out, but if a lot of this stuff was stated, like it was an issue with the cars being in the back, that could have been resolved. A lot of cars are kept in the back. I'm under the certainty that there's no limit to how many cars I can own. So that's why I stored them back there like that. But if that was ever an issue, it's easy to get those cars removed. And like you said, you can see in the backyard to where we have a nice size backyard concrete pad. So that's the reason why those cars are back there, because of course we were just told by the inspector that we couldn't park in the front of the house and we couldn't park on the pad. So Montana was changed from a 4-lane to a 2-lane. And when we have company over at the house, like we don't have anywhere to park. So that's why the grass was being used. That's why the driveway was being used. And this literally, like me and Ms. Teresa even spoke about when the property was up for sale, when the property was vacant, about purchasing the property, making it extra parking so that it's like around 7 houses from our house to the light, that everyone there is a homeowner, and that we was trying to purchase it and make it extra parking for us. But of course, yeah, in their families. But of course, I guess it changed, and I didn't know there was ever an issue. When we came to Ms. Teresa and asked her, was it an issue? She never spoke on it, and that's all I have to say. I was just unaware of all these issues that she had with the cars being in the back.
Gotcha. Okay. So, I mean, again, just looking at some of the street view and, I can do a site visit on this, but, I don't think that, it would even take a neighbor that was unhappy to notice that, there's a significant amount of cars, and I guess what's classic and what's not is somewhat subjective. These do not appear to be classic cars to me either. I'm seeing Tahoes and trucks that all seem to be less than 20 years old, parked. And so, let me go back to Wes real quick if I can. I don't think I can because he's on the phone. Yeah, Ms. Jones, I need you to just wait 1 second, okay?
Okay.
Mr. Munzel.
I was muted. Okay.
Yeah, I muted you because I could hear you. I just needed to hear from the other folks, and I'll give you an opportunity. Just give me 1 second, okay? Mr. Munzel, what are the rules on the rear yard parking of automobiles? Is it essentially as many cars as he wants to put in the backyard he can?
Yeah, I think there's no limit, I guess. I think they would probably have to have like a valid license plate and such. There are some limits on commercial vehicles and recreational vehicles. They have to be parked, in the rear yard. So it is allowed. And I have two other comments when I have appropriate time.
Sure. Mr. Leary, to be clear again, your testimony is that you are buying these cars, fixing them up, and retaining them. They are under your name. You're not reselling them. You're not doing repairs for friends. You're not doing repairs for money. There's no commercial transactions happening here.
Well, yes, sir. So I'm gonna state that. So in the prior past, yes, but this is not what this is for. The cars that's in the back now are all registered to my me and my wife's name. They all have tags on them. They all move. They all drive. The car.
Here's what I'm getting at. Here's what I'm getting at with all of this. It is difficult to run a business out of a single family home in a single family neighborhood. They're not designed or platted to do that. So to have the preschool there is already a burden on the property. But if there are two businesses being run out of this place, and you're asking me for a larger garage, and you're telling me that none of these cars, which are an eyesore, are going to be parked in that garage, I'm trying to find a reason why I should be granting this. Do you see what I'm getting at here?
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but why is it?
And look, I'm trying to be as reasonable as possible here.
Yes,
I really am. I understand.
Yes, sir.
I don't want to jam you guys up. I understand that you have a successful daycare. I don't want to harm that, but there needs to be some sort of I think deference given to neighbors in the neighborhood when
Yes,
this is the appearance in the backyard.
Yes, sir.
So one issue that you were asking about, you said that these don't appear to be classic cars, and Mr. Leary indicated that the classic cars he's referring to are in storage right now. Now, I don't know what you can do about the other cars.
They're in storage because we were told by the building inspector that we could not use the pole barn to park any cars in because the driveway was not there. So, and a couple of the cars that are outside that you're looking at, there's only one car that I just purchased that is wrecked, and that's the BMW. That car can be put inside of that pole barn to where it's not an eyesore. Or it can be moved away from there to where it's not an eyesore. That is not a problem. It can't be removed. And actually another additional car can be put inside, and one of the garage, we have a 2-car garage. One of the cars can be placed in the inside of the garage. So
Can I
there's
say
2
something?
cars that can be eliminated, and also a couple of other cars that can be eliminated if we're granted this variance to be placed inside of that pole barn, and there will be less cars in the back.
Okay. Let me go real quick to Ms. Jones. Ms. Jones, final word. What would you like to tell us?
Okay, my final word is that I really don't have any animosity to my neighbors. I like to say that. And I think through the years we helped one another out and things went sour somewhere. And I personally, it's a residential area. I think it should be used for that. It's not adding up to me about, at some point you have to stop getting stuff. And it's like they want more and more cars, and and then we got all this stuff in Blue Ash. And from what they're saying, that big structure does not accommodate everything. So I'm just kind of thinking, why would I go over to my neighbors? I think it's just kind of like being considerate of your neighbors. And so why would I go over them or I would never approach them and say, you have too many cars, or why are you parking the car on the front lawn? That is tacky. And it doesn't make sense, because what they say, they have almost an acre. So what would possess you to park the car on the front? Then you have a 2-car garage. You can park cars in. When does it stop with all these cars, with getting more stuff that needs to be stored? And pretty soon that structure, if it stayed, wouldn't be enough. And as far as the comment about they still can have a structure, they could not have a structure if it wasn't according to the guidelines of what it should be. I just assume it would be a house built on that, but that's fine. I can understand a love for objects, but it's getting to the point where it infringes on the neighbors. How, I don't think the city should have to say you're getting too many cars. You should know. It's just something that doesn't add up to me, and I just don't like it. I moved next to a neighbor. I never thought. I feel like sometimes I live on a used car lot. I have a used car lot next to me, and then here comes this huge structure, which is an eyesore to me. So I just don't go along with it. And they're smart people. They know they knew a permit. If you have a house, you need a permit. So why would you even put yourself in a situation like this? If you would have went and got a permit and you had to, or looked at it, or even asked the person doing the work, where's the permit? I just think we've all been pulled into this. And I hate it, because I have to live next door to them. Now I've been pulled into this about this structure, when if some homework would have been done, we would never be having this conversation, And like I say, some things just don't add up to me. They really don't. I want my neighborhood to look nice. And if they get that huge structure, what if somebody else wants a huge structure like that? That's just how I feel about it. And I'm done.
Thanks, Ms. Jones. I, again, appreciate your testimony.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna put you back on mute, Ms. Jones. Yeah, give me 1 second, Ms. Gugina, if you could. Wes, why don't you go ahead if you had something you wanted to add?
Yeah.
And I'll go to Ms. Gugina to close us out.
Thank you. I forgot to mention earlier about the driveway, and we had put a condition about the driveway being extended to the garage if the variance is approved. And the applicant did apply for a driveway permit, but that was denied by the stormwater department. They need to solve the stormwater drainage component of the permit before the permit's going to be granted. So I'm going to just make that clear. And I sent an email about that to you and Julie at 10 o'clock, so you probably didn't see it yet. But and I would also just kind of alter our recommendation as far as, if approved, to put a condition that additional landscaping be put on the side, whatever faces the neighbor that's been involved in the hearing, to help screen the structure, as part of that, as part of your consideration. So, thank you.
Thanks, Wes. But let's, Ms. Gugina, I know you wanted to add something, but let's for a minute, can you just, what sort of mitigating factors do you think your clients could introduce to try to soften the appearance from the accessory structure itself and from the all of the cars?
Well, I think that landscaping with, arborvitaes or something that's a tall, close together around the would that be doable?
Yes.
Around the accessory would I have a row of those along my fence line, and I barely can even see my fence because they just grow up together, and that would certainly soften the outside of the building. I think there's some confusion about the cars. There's 7, is that right now?
I don't know. David, did you say you could see 7 in the back?
Well, that was an old.
So when I'm looking,
What-
yeah,
what-
I mean,
how
I
many-
don't know when this is.
Okay.
I think this is from sometime
Okay,
last
there's
year.
We can eliminate
There
some of
appears to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then there's a few that have covers on them. I don't know if those still exist, but and then
Nah,
there's
that's
one
old.
parked in the front yard, and there's one in the
Yeah, that's old.
driveway.
Okay,
So
so there's let
lot.
me clear. There's Paul has testified that there's how many in the backyard right now?
There's 7 cars in the backyard right now.
There's
Yeah,
7
one
in the
can-
backyard.
two can be
He has
eliminated.
2 in storage.
The 2 in storage are the classic cars that I was talking about.
Okay,
I have a
so-
72 convertible Impala, and then I have a 91 convertible Camaro.
And the
And okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
the accessory structure can hold 6 cars. So he can bring his 2 from
10.
storage, and he can take 4 from the backyard. There's 7 in there right now. That leaves 3. And I actually live in Madeira. I don't have a garage. So, and I have 4 children, 3 of whom are drivers. So sometimes their cars are parked on the street, and sometimes they're parked in my driveway. And so that amounts to 4 cars, myself, my daughter, my other daughter. And so 3 cars parked back there, I think, is not unreasonable in any way. 3 or 4 cars. So
Yeah, do I
they
have
can
picture of
move,
that?
they can move in 3 or 4 of those 7 cars that are in the backyard right now. And they can move over the 2 that they have in storage, because this accessory building can hold 6.
okay. The last thing I'll ask, this is just Ms. Gugina. One of the standards I need to apply here is in section 1445-15. And the question is, was a condition giving rise to the request for the variance created by the owner or any predecessor in title? What's your response to that? Was the condition that gave rise to the need for this additional storage, was that the creation of the daycare and the collection of the cars, or something else?
Well, the creation of the daycare was in 2011. They acquired the adjoining lot in 2019. And then they subsequently consolidated them together on advice. So I wouldn't say that it was created by them. You have sort of a unusual special circumstance here. As their neighbor indicated, they have 1 acre of land. That's a lot of land on Montana Avenue in Westwood. And so, the condition that was created, I kind of look at it as the condition is we're asking for a 400 square foot variance. We could have an 800 square foot accessory building there under the code. We consolidated 2 parcels together, giving it a lot of extra lot area. And from my perspective, the condition was really created by contractor who failed to go through the steps. And now here we find ourselves. I mean, from my perspective, this is why the code allows for, a party to ask for a variance. It doesn't seem to me to be an extreme variance when you're asking for an additional 400 square foot on a 1 acre lot.
Okay. All right. So let's go ahead, unless there's anything else in closing you wanted to offer, Ms. Kajina, let's go ahead and leave it at that, unless you want to offer anything else. So yeah, I'm going to take a little bit more time with this. I'm familiar with Montana Avenue. I'm on Montana all the time. I may just do a drive-by site visit just to get a better sense of this particular property. I think if this is approved, I'm going to condition it heavily to try to again soften some of the impact of what appears to be at least one business and a pretty heavy use of collecting old cars and storing them in the backyard. And so I will, when I make a decision, what I do is I put that all in writing. That's the official formal decision. If that'll of course indicate whether it's approved or denied. If it is approved and I have conditions, those conditions will be listed explicitly in that written decision, and permitting will not be able to occur until those conditions are met. I think that's it. Any questions about the process or anything else that's happened today?
Okay.
Sure, go ahead.
So when you're saying, when you said the soften the appearance and everything like that, will we be able to store daycare items like that we can walk over there? I know we can't drive because the driveway is not there. Will we be able to take some of the items and place them in there while this process is going on? That way it can help the appearance outside, or like how would that work?
We're not necessarily just
Wes, can you help with that question? Are they legally allowed to use the structure before it's been permitted?
I don't know. I mean, they don't have a certificate of occupancy per se, but I mean, they are allowed an 800 square foot structure. And given the balancing of everyone's interests here, I don't know.
I'm gonna jump in here. We cannot legally tell you that you're allowed to use that structure before you have your certificate of occupancy.
Okay.
And so that will I can't say yes. But any other questions?
No, sir. No, sir.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, yeah, thank you all. I want to thank you both and thank Ms. Jones for your testimony. Thanks, Ms. Gugina, for your very professional presentation. I will have that out to you as soon as I can. I said at the beginning that usually takes about 2 weeks. I'll do everything I can to get that out to you as soon as possible. I will email it to everybody who's in the hearing here. It's really just moments after it's complete. I put it into a PDF and I email it to you. So you all will have it really as soon as it's done. And then if there is an approval with conditions, then you can work with Wes to get those conditions satisfied and to get him to approve the permits.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. If you have any questions in the meantime, feel free to reach out to me directly, or if you'd like a status update on the decision, feel free to reach out to me directly. Thanks again, everyone. Hope you have a wonderful day. We are adjourned.